this is India and Pakistan. People are not like us there. I mean, no. The main point of focusing on partition from a human dimension, from the perspective of individuals and experience and these kind of things, and what makes individuals and what makes experience. And the main purpose behind that, the main purpose behind taking that as a central focus in a course on partition, or any material designed for American audiences, is to remove the exoticness of this.
We were very poor. We had nothing. I remember in one room, 11 people used to sleep. One small room. It was very poor.
Retaliation. It was one group was doing one thing, so in retaliation they will do the same thing to them too, just to get even, scoring.
I think even more than the sense of very large numbers of people dead, from what I've read, what frightened people the most was the sense of people, ordinary people, killing each other.
How much understanding did she have of what was happening, or was it just we're moving, or
आपको उसे इतने सब कुछ अच्छी तरह सब याद है जो आप बता रही हैं. She remembers everything. They used to burn the whole house, and there was so much smoke. She remembers everything.
I think the simplest definition is the political definition. It's the creation of two nation states from the one undivided mass that was British India, the nation states of Pakistan and India. And it happened temporally in the case of India and Pakistan. In 1947, Pakistan became independent on the 14th of August. India became independent on the 15th of August. Pakistan existed as a nation till 1971 in two halves, West and East Pakistan, because the Bengal too, because it had large Muslim majority provinces, was subdivided into East Bengal and West Bengal, and East Bengal became East Pakistan. So partition is, in political terms, the creation of two new nation states from one imperial British Indian state. But the term, in the way that we have been talking, is about all kinds of other divisions, psychic divisions, cultural divisions, the violence of division, the division of self-understanding. So it's all that kind of, you can think of that term as indicating all those complex issues too, rather than just the political event.
There were two schools of thought that time. One was that one united India liberated from Britain, but other school of thought was to have majority rule in the different areas according to the majority. finally these parties, two parties, Muslim League and Congress, they agreed for partition, that is Muslim majority areas going to Muslim rule, controlled by Muslim League, and Hindu majority areas going to Hindu rule, overseen by Congress party. There was very nice social mix without any religious feelings. But after the partition, the disturbances started in some of the areas of Punjab, Sindh, Bihar and Bengal.
बस लेकिन ये लोग बंद तो गया पाकिस्तान। उस वक्त के गवर्नर थे लॉर्ड माउंटबेटन, जो थे इंडिया में, तो उनसे उनके सामने सब हुआ, पार्टीशन हुआ। लेकिन ये लोग चाहते नहीं थे कि मुस्लिम जाए। अगर किसी के मुंह से निकल जाए कि पाकिस्तान जाएंगे तो बस खत्म।
If you think about Muslims in South Asia as a collectivity, partition meant that the 110 Muslims, 120 million Muslims, 110, 120 million Muslims left in India, they were tremendously weakened, not simply because of the loss of an entire class of people who could move, because after all, apart from Punjab and Bengal, who moved from places like Lucknow or all over Uttar Pradesh or even from Hyderabad or wherever there were large Muslim populations? The people who moved were people who could afford to move. And they were often the leadership of these communities. So the poor, often illiterate, often uneducated peasantry that was left behind, it's taken 2 generations for them to recover a sense of possibility. And then, of course, there's the argument that I take seriously. This is not a political argument at all, which is that there is so much incredible commonality, especially in North India or in Bengal. I mean, what's the difference between a village on this side of the border, 800 meters away, you have a village on the other side of the border. Now there's no contact. For centuries, they were the same. And you could make the same argument with Punjabis or indeed all across North India. Now, if that's the case, the sense of loss is of a composite culture. This is not a rosy-eyed view of the past where, you know, everybody lived together and did everything together and loved each other without any troubles. There were always troubles. But there were low-level troubles. For the most part, South Asia rejoiced in an incredibly, to use today's American word, multicultural polity. And that has taken a serious hit because of partition. And part of the conversation that has happened since the research and scholarship on partition began some years ago is the idea that until there is a proper accounting of that moment, it will be hard to get to a point where citizens, people, common people can reassert not their identity across borders, but at least their commonality, and lay claim against the state, the Pakistani state and the Indian state, to a shared inheritance and a shared future. Because we now have in the subcontinent, and this is the other thing, and this is true of Bangladesh also after 71, we now have states in place that are devoted to the idea of national frontiers as dividers between peoples. And so in many ways, it's only citizens' initiatives that have worked in the last 5 to 6 years.
I mean, I look at the term in English, partition, as it is in some ways uncritical about anything. It's not trying to take a side. In Urdu, the terms we use, Kazim or Batwara, those are the terms that come up very often as well. All of these terms imply that there was somehow a doling out of certain sections. You partitioned one area off from another, and that there was some kind of division that was going to be created that seems more concrete than it is. It's just a boundary line. And it also, to me, evokes the idea that now there's a barrier that is impregnable somehow, which I think is a very false idea. Just like any border, you have Bollywood, you have so much cultural exchange between everyone that it's not as if there's no longer any interaction involved. So, although I don't really like the term, I don't know what would be an alternative, because if we call it ethnic cleansing, if we call it something like a Holocaust, then we're giving a great deal more intentionality to the events that happen at partition. But I think we need to reevaluate the term itself. Like, partition is just the act of what occurs, but it doesn't really get at the consequences of what happens.
Well, when the partition took place, I was really at a very infancy stage of my life. I was only 7 years old. So I don't remember anything, And of course, you have not the perception at that time that you could perceive what was happening or you could understand. But later on, when elders used to talk about it and tell the things, I was shocked to know that, and was not very happy to know that so many people were killed, about 1 million, according to some estimates. That was bad. But partition as a whole was inevitable because of the circumstances at that time in that country. British had to leave and India had to be freed. Muslims wanted their own place. So that's how it happened.
That until my generation, no one in my family can go on a pilgrimage to Pakistan. And that's honestly, it's a huge deal for my grandparents because they were born in Lahore. And now they can't go back because of whatever treaty or whatever deal we have with Pakistan right now. And I think that's pretty much how it affects me, that if anyone ever said that you can't go to Pakistan to go to a temple or a place of worship because of the partition, well, then that would be that.
Biji, jo kehde partition, tusi ki samajhde ho de naal partition naal?
Pakistan.
Okay. To her, partition means Pakistan came into existence. When it was separated, India was divided. That's a division of India.
And what are some memories of partition, life before partition?
ਤੁਸੀਂ partition ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਯਾਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਹੈਗੀ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਯਾਦ ਹੈ partition ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ?
ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਨਾ, ਲਾਹੌਰ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਆਏ, ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਰਿਜ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੋਈ, ਫਿਰ ਕੁਲਦੀਪ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਗਈ ਆ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਫਿਰ ਲਾਹੌਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਈ.
ਅੱਛਾ. So she says that they did not know anything about Pakistan. भी मैं हुन बोल रहा हूँ, जो मैं बोल रहा हूँ तुसी नहीं बोल सकते क्योंकि रिकॉर्ड कर रहे हैं. She says before, when she used to live in Lahore, in Pakistan, they had no idea. They never thought of India being divided.
Some areas were very bad, and then people got harassed and started moving. Whole trains were massacred, like number of trains, the train full of passengers were burned down and people were killed in Punjab area, in Bengal area, Sindh. So these violences make people scared. And then there was immigration and movement of people from one